Okay, right, and Anderson. So we're going to start. We're going to start with those questions now, Anderson. Okay, so we're just going to run through and have a discussion on those outstanding bits of criteria. So my first question is, Anderson. So we're going to start with a little bit of team building, leading people, and managing people as well. So Anderson, can you give me an example of where you've supported the development of the team, but also individuals during a period of change within your business? So whenever something's changed within your business, what's the process behind you helping your staff as a team and individually?
Ideally, when let's say a new activity or a new rotation has to be changed, so we'll have to be making sure that the rota is updated to assisting the people that we're working with. Ideally, sometimes we have, like I was saying, we have some officers that leave early due to where they live, so we might have to amend the rotas for other team members to cover in case of supporting, where they need to be standing, the time, where they need to, how long they're going to be standing for, and what they need to do for the job description. Okay,
so that's a little bit of time management. Okay, so which we'll come to in a bit. In terms of supporting your team and supporting individuals in your team. So is anything where you've had to change anything in your team, like during COVID regulations, for example, whenever you've brought in a new policy or a new set of operations, how have you dealt with that regarding team and both individually?
Ideally, we do
how have you coached them so they understand basically?
Every development that comes into place, we'll make sure that obviously we're running with the management, and the whole management would be including ourselves and the building management, so we know how to train them.
Yeah.
So we obviously go through it ourselves, understand it, and then explain it to them exactly how we understand it. So ideally, let's say, for example, like you said, COVID-19, we had to make sure that we had to write a report, make SOPs. SOPs are scenario occurrence procedures. So in situations where, in case it does happen, what would happen? So in COVID times, a very good example, where washing hands, we will put labels in the toilets, giving people understanding. In case, obviously, you might forget, we have labels in the toilet saying wash your hands, use it correctly, make sure you're social distancing from people, in the sense of like other senses, like we're crowd controlling. We know that we can't have too much congestion around the surgery room, as it's a very small little room.
Yeah.
We have this order where it's 5 at a time. So 5 will enter the inside, get searched, and then go upstairs to the roof, and another 5 will keep going. But we make sure that keeps going like that. Okay,
no worries, Anderson. Okay, so you've used COVID sort of regulations as an example of kind of a period of change, or something where change has happened within the business. So whenever that happens and you implement a new policy, how do the staff get to know about it? Would you communicate it to them all together as a team?
So ideally, we will grab them through Teams. So we have a little Teams meeting, depending on who's on shift, and we'll make sure that everyone's on. Before they come in, we request them to come 15 minutes early every shift.
Yeah.
Just ideally, in case of any situations that are changing, like you said, any new procedures that need to be in place, or any new rules that need to be changed, they will know 15 minutes before the shift. So they at least will sit down, have a little 15-20 minutes meeting based on the new changes that's happening around the building.
Okay, excellent. So everything gets communicated as a team. So as a team, everybody understands, and they get briefed, and it's communicated to them clearly exactly what's happening.
Of course.
Would you also then follow up with your team individually, Anderson, to make sure that they were happy with all of that as well?
Yeah, ideally, part of my job would be to make sure that after the meeting is to implement per person, so that they understand.
Okay.
So I'll go to each person rotation, and I explain to them what they need to be doing, how they need to be doing it, and what time they need to be doing.
Okay, so you're gonna coach them.
Yeah,
so you're going to coach and develop their understanding of what needs to do by one-to-one basis. Okay, excellent. That's really
one-to-one basis.
Really
because ideally, like I was doing before, we realized that not a lot of people speak in the meeting. Not a lot of people want to speak in the meeting. So we've spoken between the management that after we have a meeting, we've informed other people that in case you do have a question and you don't want to speak it out, that either email me or find me when I'm walking around. So ideally, I push that towards that effort. So I make myself go out there and speak to them so they all know their rotations, they know what they need to be doing, what the job description is basically for.
Okay, perfect. Okay, excellent. That's really useful. Okay, we'll come back to, now you mentioned time management a little bit at the start, Anderson. We're going to talk about a little bit about time management again. So are there any, just explain to me how you structure your day? How do you go about structuring your day? Are there any schedules in place where you know that everything's going to be mapped out?
Ideally, we have a daily check for the controllers as much as we have it for the officers. So everyone will know that at the moment you step into your job and you're now starting your job, you have a checklist that you have to go through. So, for example, me, I will have to make sure that the cameras are working. I need to make sure that my reports are up to date in the sense of like numbers of the roof, if they have over exceeded or not, making sure that obviously the team understand that if they do over exceed that they need to report to us so we can now manage the capacity better and the crowd flow better.
Okay, so on your, I think within your team, Anderson, you've got a schedule, haven't you? You've got like a rotated schedule where everybody understands where they need to be at certain times.
Correct. So it's hourly. So every hour they have a position different. So one of them could be standing by the lift. One of them could be working with the team.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're solo. Sometimes they're working within teams. So this is why sometimes I make sure that with the ones that are solo, like if they're sitting by the lift, I make sure that obviously I go to them, explain to them if they understand what they need to do, what sort of conversations you give to the people when they come in, customers and visitors. So obviously interact with them better and give them a better experience through the garden at 120.
Okay. So that's your goals. You've already mentioned yourself as well. You kind of know when you come into work every day, the kind of what your plan will be. There'll be certain things that you know you need to carry out, and there'll be certain things that you know that are on your task list that you need to do.
Right.
So let me just put a hypothetical in place, Anderson. So hypothetically, if you can't get round to doing one of the tasks on your list, how would you manage that?
So for example, sometimes it does get to a point where just before finishing the shift, sometimes the work can't get completely done. So for example, roof numbers might not officially get counted correctly or being put on the report. So we make sure that we tell the next team that's coming on by giving a handover. So we have a handover-based system where we make sure any work that is missing or any work that we have like not had the time for, we put it down and so the next team can continue. Because ideally we've got this procedure where within hours, within 1 hour or two, reports are supposed to be completed.
Okay.
Information is supposed to be gathered. And so sometimes we don't get the chance to do it, so we will pass it on to the night shift or to the day shift so they can handle it.
Okay, so that gets delegated or passed on or left till the next day for you to do if it's not seen as important.
Exactly.
So
and then it gets we call it prioritized. So there's a prioritized system that we have. If it's very important, it's within an hour. If it's not that important, it's within 1 or 2 days.
Okay, so it's almost similar to that technique we spoke about a little bit earlier then, where you prioritize everything that's the most important. You spend time doing that. You get the most important thing done first, and then it gets less so throughout the day. So tasks like that, the ABCDE method that we spoke about, like the frog, eat that frog method. So that's going to be that's your prioritize. That's how you prioritize your and plan your day. So you get the most important task done first, and then it goes along to the point where you try and time manage effectively, but also you understand that things come up, like if there's a fire alarm, for example, then that's going to stop you from doing whatever you'd scheduled to do at that time. So inevitably things crop up at work where you then have to delegate or leave tasks till the next day. So it's just a matter of prioritizing those tasks and along with how important they are and managing them effectively.
ideally is that something that we have in day shift where, because of the amount of workflow we have for the roof, some offices obviously within breaks, and it's mostly we have problems here with breaks. So they have breaks, and in the time that they have breaks, the line can still keep coming. A lot of people still keep coming. So we will have another officer of our core team integrate with the team just for
Okay.
an hour of that break. So
Okay.
the flow of work would be much easier instead of obviously just struggling with two or one man down on the team.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. That's a really good example. That's a really good example, Anderson.
Even sometimes myself, I have to go